Welcome, 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 everyone, to Dr. Day's Business Cafe. I am Dr. Day, and today we have a special guest, Dr. Stephen Williams. And Dr. Williams is an operational executive with over 20 years of experience in all aspects of business operations, including light and heavy manufacturing, production, distribution, logistics, mergers, acquisitions, and continuous improvement. He is a member of the Golden Key International Honor Society and National Society of Leadership and Success. Dr. Williams is a legacy alumnus of Walden University, where he earned his Executive Master of Business Administration, EMBA degree in 2014. Dr. Williams applied the information, knowledge, and consulting skills acquired during the DBA consulting capstone program to improve his work organization's performance, in addition to studying and coaching and consulting his nonprofit client organization. So welcome again, Dr. Williams. So at this time, I'll turn the program over to you and let you tell us the title of your study, and also, tell us about the process and your research and your findings.
Well, first of all, thank you for the warm introduction, Dr. Day. Definitely a pleasure to be on this platform with you and share information about my study as it relates to minority business enterprises. First of all, I am Dr. Stephen Williams, and the study of my dissertation was Minority Business Enterprise Leader Strategies to Maintain Adequate Cash Flow. Now, the conceptual framework was derived and really located and founded by the Green Growth Model and aided by the Scott and Bruce 5 stages of small business model. And in this process, I had a client organization based in Washington, D.C., and that comprised of the senior leader and 2 trusted advisors. And we went through a lengthy process over 18 months. Going through all aspects of the organization, of course. And one thing we used the Baldrige Performance Excellence Program, which is essential. And that program aligned with the conceptual frameworks of the Green Growth Model and the Scott and Bruce's 5 stages of small business growth. Working with this client organization, especially during the pandemic, was a challenging feat, but we were able to put our foundation and our structure in the Baldrige Performance Excellence Program and really highlight the details of the conceptual framework. Now, if you understand the Green Growth Model, you have 6 phases and you have 5 different leadership prognoses. And what you have is a crisis of leadership, you have the crisis of autonomy, you have the crisis of control, the crisis of red tape, and you have the crisis of growth. But in these particular crises, it's also 5 different phases, which is phase 1 is creativity, phase 2, which is direction, phase 3, which is delegation, phase 4, which is coordination, and phase 5, which is collaboration, and phase 6, which is alliances, how we move in these particular crises and how departments align together to focus on the details of what make the organization successful in these particular crises. And that's when you get the Baldrige Performance Excellence Program comes in. You ask particular questions about how the process measure up to get the company's mission, vision, and values while analyzing the tools that we need to make that successful. And this company here had phenomenal results. First, by saying this company was a consulting organization, and just to give you some basic numbers, the company's been open 3 to 4 years. In the first year, the annual earnings were only $5,000. The second year, the earnings was about $31,000. And then the pandemic, this company had a breakout session where their net revenues was about $2.1 million. And the keys to that is that they were just open to new alliances and partnerships. They was able to really expand on their customer service initiatives, integrities, increase their relationship with the customer. And the third was just really focusing on their structure, on their personnel, with the details of what it is and what it's called to be successful. And that's the key thing when you're looking at the research I have, the things we were able to do with the client, the things that the program at Walden University brings, is really the details of what's going to make us successful. And just for example, you might have a task with filling up a soda bottle or something like that. It's a specific way that you have to do that to get all the ingredients up to the top and then for it not to overflow. And that gives you just a brief analogy of what the program is and what we were able to do with the client organization. We were able to follow the instructions to the letter and get positive results, and which I described a year-over-year result from 5,000 to 31,000 to 2.1 million. Those were tremendous results, and I'd like to thank that client organization for working with us. But my research is extensive because it only applies not to for-profit organizations, but for nonprofit, small businesses, large businesses, minority businesses. It's about paying attention to the close details. And if you notice, I'm saying the word details because really, when you look at a process, the details of what gets you over, the details of what gets you market share, the details of what makes you a better competitor or a better value proposition for your particular customer. And that's what we have to follow to the letter to be successful in business. It's not about being popular. It's about how can you become great, and you become great with extensive customer service, extensive knowledge of the program, and really taking care of your employees and making sure that organizational knowledge, which is a key concept in the Baldrige Performance Excellence Program, to be successful. And so as we continue to move on, and as we continue to talk about the research, I think the research was simplistic. I think the findings, when you talk about minority businesses, you don't have a lot of financial backing. So that's why the alliances of even making sure you get with another particular business that might have some resources that you don't have is critical. Being open to those partnerships, understanding that you might not be able to boss up, may not be able to be the boss all the time, but you have to share some of those have a shared responsibility in most cases. And that's what's critical to most minority businesses. When you look at sustainment beyond 5 years, most companies don't sustain because there's no financial capital and there's no way to get it and there's no creativity. And that's not to say you get away from your business plan or model, but you might be able to get another company to work with you and share some of their strengths with you, do some competitive benchmarking, and you move that process to the forefront. I believe it's critical in minority business enterprises, but I also think you can apply the same concept to large, small, medium-sized businesses as well as the minority spectrum that we're discussing right now. If you look at the Scott and Bruce's model, it pillars around the same thing as the Green Growth model. And you have to have your employees prepared to handle crises, to increasing your organizational knowledge, to figuring out who are your high potential employees, through situational learning, and make the workplace not a speed culture, but a rush culture to be successful in the business. As I always tell millennials, when you get into a company and it's not about you being a brand, it's about the company and trust you to be a part of the brand. And so you have to make sure that you live in the brand every day, that the same way that you want respect, you have to respect the brand itself and what all that entails, what all that responsibility entails for you to be successful. And I think this is a process going through the consulting capstone at Walden that all the students be able to afford. I think it's more directed to application. It's more directed to your flexibility within your study, what you can change without losing the structure, and how fluid and how you can saturate your data from your research. All of those are critical aspects and steps to any research process, but in particular to the research I went through to get better strategies for minority business leaders to look at to maintain adequate cash flow. This was a critical aspect in this research standpoint.
Thank you very much for providing all of this information, and you touched on quite a few things that is very relevant to the people listening to this platform, because my business cafe is specifically targeting minority business owners or Black, Indigenous, and other people of color who are either seeking to start a business or grow their business, so that they can come here, find very relevant and applicable information that they can put into practice right away. And so you said several things that I want to go back and touch on. The one thing that the first thing that resonated with me was that people of color that are in business need to find collaborations if they are struggling or looking to grow. And I even said in my study that, collaboration is the new competitive advantage. And so I definitely agree with you on that. Not that you need me to co-sign it because you actually found it. You actually proved that in your research, but I'm co-signing it anyway, okay?
Yes.
Collaboration. So that was the first thing that resonated with me, that collaboration is important. The second thing that resonated, just really stood out for me in your discussion, is that it's in the details. It's not necessarily in how good you look, how popular your brand is, but success and sustainability is really in the details. Um,
Definitely.
so that's important. And then the third thing that you mentioned that really resonated with me, and I want you to elaborate on this a little bit, talking about the brand. So, and you said that a lot of times you talk to your millennial employees and let them
Mhm.
know that it's not just about them being a brand, but being aligned with the brand that they're
Mhm.
working for. So how would you translate that for not necessarily just an employee, but if we're talking to uh, BIPOC or minority small business owners, how would you translate that same advice or information to them in terms of their brand?
Well, I think that, some people, some business owners, you so set on this is the direction my business is going to go. But I think, we have an obligation to kind of wake up every day with the mindset, that we not only speak for ourselves, but we speak on behalf of the brand. And, and in most cases, it's a brand that we do own. So, this brand is here to employ us. Um, it has entrusted us to represent it as we represent ourselves out here. So I think you have to be cognizant of everything that's included with your brand, and that's really getting to the details. And I think that you only become successful because you sustain a level of success by giving people what they expect. And that's I heard this from Arthur, and when I'm talking to millennials, I try to put it in a position where they really can understand that you have to be patient to be successful in business. You're not going to hit a home run out of the park every time you go up to bat. Um, you have to be prepared for failure. You have to be prepared for economic changes. You have to be prepared for social and technological changes as well. But you have to understand that you will need to put the work in. It will require a level of dedication. It's going to require you to do a series of things that you're not comfortable with to be successful, because it's only going to increase your flexibility and adaptability to your business model and what the challenges bring you.
So in other words, and I believe you put this a little bit differently earlier, but in other words, success is not a sprint, but a marathon.
Most definitely. And I think, in society today with, social media, with YouTube and Instagram and all these avenues to have income, um, though that type of income is quick. But when you running your own business and you have a niche and you want to expose it and you want to get it out for the world to see, you're going to run into different challenges, especially domestically, but globally as well. There might be someone out there globally that's doing the same thing that you're doing, but might not have the resources to market their product. So you just have to be cognizant of the details to get the message in the right people's mind and the right people's hands to get your business going.
That's great. I appreciate that advice, and that's definitely true. A lot of times we can see people on social media and it looks like they are having all this enormous success, and you don't want to, it's good to learn from other people, but you don't want to compare what you're doing or the success that you're having to their success, because for number one, you don't really know how long they've been at it, you know number two, you're doing your thing. You're in your lane. I remember my senior year in undergraduate, and one young lady in our group, she was having all this success, and I was like, I'm putting in the same work. I don't know, why she's having all this success, and I wasn't struggling, but I was having a time with my senior seminar. And one of my friends, she just turned to me and she said, Aretha, just do you.
Yeah.
And that summed it up for me. So, I'll say it's good for us to learn from each other. And of course, on social media, we do look and see what other people are doing and learn from them. But at the end of the day, it's your why, it's your purpose, it's your journey. And so it's your brand, and hopefully it's your business plan,
Mhm.
so you have to do you. So we have a few minutes left, and I would like to draw on your wisdom again, talking to, once again, specifically Black, Indigenous, or other people of color, minority business owners, and the unique experiences and challenges that they have in business. I know you have given us a lot of not just advice, but also recommendations drawing on your study. What else, if you were, talking to, let's say, and a business owner or entrepreneur of color that is maybe at a crossroads and they needed some advice to apply to their business to help them go forward,
Mhm.
what advice would what advice and recommendations based upon your business experience, your personal business experience, as well as your scholarly knowledge, what advice or recommendations would you give them at this time in this business climate?
Well, I would just have a discussion to make them understand. Listen, it's not about the skills. I think that you have to be prepared to put put the work in. I think that it's a certain level of dedication that you have to have. More importantly, it's the humility that you have to be willing to exhibit and understand that it's a thin line between confidence that you must have and the humility that you have to have. And that more importantly is you don't have the right to hold somebody accountable for standards that you can't apply for yourself. So you have to make sure in business that you, for one, you get your business plan going. Two, you're able to retain talent. And because the longer you retain that talent, the more you can transfer that organizational knowledge, and the more that talent builds a business relationship with your potential customers, which also builds trust. So that's just the first thing that I would do. You can have the best product in the world, but if the customer service is not there, you're not going to sell. You got to make sure that the people you have that's being the face of your company, whether they're out in the public or they're on the phone, they understand the product, they know the details of the product, they understand your mission and value and vision statements, and they're able to articulate that into a value proposition to make that customer happy about the product they're getting. And I think that comes over time. And sometimes you can have a niche product and you can knock it out of the park, but other times you have to start from the ground up. You have to keep grinding. You have to keep putting that work in, but you can't do it all on your own. So you got to have people around you that's going to take that pressure off of you and teach them to run the business as you would. I think those would be some key nuggets that you want to look at initially when you begin in a business or when you're in a crossroad. Because you typically in a crossroad, you're trying to do it this way. It's not working. Let's look at another alternative. Let's see where we were wrong. What are the details to what we didn't do wrong, what we could do right? And I think that's a critical aspect in business, not only in the day, but in the future as well.
Well, thank you, Dr. Williams. You have given us a wealth of information that hopefully not only my viewers and audience can use, but I will remember that and apply that to my own business and business endeavors. So one last question. Can we get you back, invite you back another time? I promise not next week, but I do want to invite you back on the program.
Hey, Dr. Day, we go way back. So anytime you need me, just let me know and I'll make the time for the program. I think it's good work you're doing, good podcast, good information. And that's what our roles are as doctors. We need to share that knowledge and help people win.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Williams. I appreciate it. So in closing, again, I want to thank you for coming on to support my business cafe today. And I will say to all who are listening, I hope that you enjoyed this program and that you found the information beneficial to you. And until next time, let's continue to level up personally, make a positive impact professionally, and build a lasting legacy for our families while living our best lives. So thank you again for being on the program. And until next time, I bid you adieu. Take care.
God bless. Bye.